Then you like that
Summit
about
in conversation with Noel Hanna. I would like to just first of all apologize for the technical glitch that we had just a moment ago. But we are back, and I'm hoping everybody would enjoy my chat with Noel Hanna, who is one of my favorite people in the mountain. So, Noel, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I'm Noel Hanna. I'm 53 years old. I'm originally from County Down in Northern Ireland. I've been in South Africa now 8.5 years. I started off my career as a police officer for 15 years, and then I changed direction and got into mountaineering and adventure, and that's been my passion for the last 20 years, and hopefully I can still do it for at least another 10 years.
That's interesting. Police officer, from police officer to an adventurer, that's quite a difference. Why did you leave? Did you retire?
I didn't. In Northern Ireland, we were obviously in the troubles in the late 80s and 90s, and the middle 90s, there was a ceasefire. So to me, there wasn't the same adrenaline whenever you were working. And obviously then I got into running and climbing, and that's where I got my adrenaline from. And I just thought to myself, after 15 years, there's more to life than just being a police officer, and that's why I changed.
Yeah, wow, that is interesting. But then why mountaineering? I know you've done extreme sports, you've done a lot of ultra 100 milers, I believe, and some ultra runs, but I see you are focusing on mountaineering. So why mountaineering specifically?
I think I went to Darjeeling in India to do a 100-mile race in 1997. And during that race, you could see 3 or 4 of the world's highest mountains: Everest, Lhotse, Makalu. And the scenery was spectacular. And I just thought to myself, someday it would be nice to be up there. And then I was doing an adventure racing race, a 10-day adventure racing race in Patagonia. And part of the race was climbing Mount Tronador, one of the peaks down there. And I just got the love for out in the mountain and the free space, and that's where I decided then I would like to do this a lot more.
Okay. Wow, interesting. So before that, I know you said you were a police officer, but you also have been a bodyguard. Is that something that you do still until now, or it's something that you did as a transition?
I still am. I still have my license as a bodyguard, private bodyguard person all over the world. I can work. I don't really do it as much as probably I should. I'm in the position where I really don't have to do it, which is nice. But I've done it and have had a few nice people that I've worked with, which has been good.
Who's the most interesting person that you've had to be a bodyguard to?
Probably the most interesting one was I was part of the security for Bill Clinton whenever he came to do a talk in Dublin after he went out of office. So probably Bill Clinton has been the most famous one to be working with.
That's interesting because it's pretty tall compared to you. So that should be
Yeah, it is,
interesting.
but I have a photograph of me standing beside him at the function, and looking at it, you would think he's about 6'5" and I'm about 5 foot.
But you're still protecting him, which is nice. So now I
Yeah.
know you. Yes, I know you've done 7 summits. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey from admiring the mountains while you were running to getting onto them, and suddenly you've done the 7 summits? How long did it take you to do them the first time? And which was the most interesting?
Probably I started doing the 7 summits in 2005. Between 2000 and 2005, I had done other peaks in Bolivia and Peru. And then I just decided, why not give the 7 summits a go? But because other people had done the 7 summits, I decided I would like to give it a different challenge and maybe do the 7 summits to sea level. So it meant then that once I would come down to base camp after the climb, I would either cycle or track or ski till where sea level is, even should it be the frozen sea in Antarctica. It was just a different challenge that I put on to it myself, and it was definitely a difficult challenge to complete.
Yeah.
Probably the
And
most. Sorry.
Go ahead.
The,
No, how many
probably
days did it?
I started in 2005 and I finished in December 2009. So really 5 years for the 7 summits to sea level.
Yeah, that is interesting. I know you have the record for from sea level to the highest point. Is that correct?
No, from summit to sea, because I decided I would do it that way, because if you were doing it from sea to summit, you could spend 3 weeks cycling to Everest and then not make summit, and that's your challenge over. Whereas if you make summit, then it's easier to go to sea level. You've got your best challenge done.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So between the running and mountaineering, which is your preference and why?
Both is they're two totally different things. The good thing I like about running, and if you're going to do like 100-mile race, all you really need is a pair of training shoes and a rucksack. Whereas to go on a large climb, you have a lot more gear, you have a lot more expense. But then you're on a climb maybe for a month, 6 weeks, whereas an ultra run, you're probably talking no more than 24, 36 hours. So the two totally different experiences. And I can't say I like one over the other. I'm hopefully getting back more into the adventure racing again, the longer endurance races. But I think that's where it gives you the benefit being on the mountains, because you have more endurance from the mountains. So if anything happens, that if you are stuck out in a storm, you know what your body's like for 36 hours without little food and without any sleep.
Yeah, interesting. So you are the third person that I've chatted to on this channel that has done both Everest and K2. I'm always interested in knowing the difference. What was it like on K2 and why K2?
It's the same as Everest. No, Everest is the highest mountain. You have to challenge yourself and go for it. K2 obviously is the second highest mountain. K2 obviously is a lot more difficult. You're a lot more extreme weather conditions. Going into K2, you have a longer walk in than you have going into Everest. And the likes of Everest, if something happens, it's easier to get a helicopter out for $1,000 or $2,000. But K2, because it's an army operation, you're talking $20,000 for a helicopter ride back out. To me, wow, it's $6 1/2 dozen. Obviously, on K2, you're on the mountain very similar time to Everest. There's a lot more technical climbing, a lot of steeper route on K2. Both is equally probably as dangerous, because you've got the Khumbu icefall on the south side, which is very, very dangerous. It's not too bad. I find that the north side of Everest is a lot less dangerous than the south side of Everest, but I think the north side of Everest is a harder climb and harsher conditions than the south side of Everest.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually was going to be my second question about the difference. So are you saying your preference will be the north side or the south side?
Again, I've done the south side 2 times and the north side 7 times. The weather conditions on the north side seem to be worse and a lot more wind than the south side. The south side is more dangerous going through the Khumbu icefall. Once you get through the Khumbu icefall, there's very little danger on the south side. You've got ice falling on the Lhotse face. and there's no real, most of the climbing is fairly straightforward. Whereas the north side, you're spending a lot more time above 8,000 meters, because on the north side, you're spending at the last camp at 8,300 meters, whereas on the south side, the south cull is 7,900 meters. So you're going from summit from 7,900 meters, so you're less time above 8,000 meters going for summit and coming back down.
Mm-hmm. That is interesting. So one of the things that when I look back, as you know, I went to Everest 3 times before I went with you on the 4th attempt. You have a lot more fun at base camp. I mean, previously I was told no to alcohol, but you just have shandies and, you know, what is your philosophy about, you know, base camp and how you work with clients at base camp?
I think the problem is, I can take you back to a story just recently on Kilimanjaro. I had a person approach me 2 years ago, and he had tried Kilimanjaro 7 years ago and really got altitude sickness and didn't make summit and was in hospital. And he asked me, and I said, look, I can go back with you, no problem, you can come with me. And I think people, whenever they're on the mountain, should it be Kilimanjaro or Everest, you have to be relaxed. A lot of people get stressed out. Even Kilimanjaro, they're coming into camp, they're stressing out, they're worrying what's going to happen tomorrow. Are they going to be able to do it? Whereas you're coming into the lower camps at 2,500 meters or 3,000 meters or 3,700 meters. A glass of wine, a glass of red wine, is not going to do anybody any harm. It's going to be relaxing them. No way they can sit, have their dinner, have a glass of red wine. I always bring cheese, ham, and things like that, where it makes it more as if you're at home. And that's the way I do all my climbs. It's the same as Everest. If you can have people sitting and relaxed, it makes the body a lot more easier then, and they're not stressing out as much.
Yeah. Wow. I can certainly attest to that. There was a party every evening at dinner. No, so I want to take you back on something a little bit more serious, loss on the mountain. I know you've seen it. You've also experienced it within your team. How do you deal with that personally, and how do you manage it for your clients and anybody affected?
I think maybe coming from a police background where you've been to incidents where people have been killed or shot or blown up, it's basically the same in the mountain, that you have to give them the best control that you have. You know, I don't have any control over avalanches or if somebody falls or if somebody doesn't want to come back. But in your own mind, I have to put people's lives no way they're at risk. But I can only do so much, that if somebody clips out of a rope and falls, I can't be with them 24/7. No way, that's the dangers of climbing. Or somebody could be in front of me and an avalanche hit them, and I could be 20 feet behind them and an avalanche not hit me. It's just the things. But I try to make it as much as I can help of the weather forecasts. I make sure that people are always all right. I keep checking eye on their condition. If I feel that I think that they're not capable of carrying on, I will turn them round. And I've done that on more than one occasion, even in Kilimanjaro and on Aconcagua. And the same would happen. I've never had to turn anybody around on Everest, but the same thing would happen if I feel that they're putting their lives at risk and putting the Sherpa's life at risk. I will turn them around.
Yeah. And how is that experience? Do you find clients easy to talk to when you're saying you need to go back? It's not going to work this time?
Well, mostly I would, before we go for summit or whenever they're signing up with me, I'll always tell them that you have to take my advice. No way, you can't go against me. And obviously, if somebody goes against me, you can't stop them. You can't physically tie a rope around them and pull them down. But if that's the case, then I'll get them to sign something or do an interview to say that they're going against my will to go for summit. I'm only giving them their best chance. No way, as I always say to people, the mountain's always going to be there. I went to the mountain in 2005, and above 7,000 meters, I took retinal hemorrhaging in both eyes, and I had to turn around. I wasn't going to be, no way. I could have been stubborn and tried to climb on and try to go for summit, but my life's more precious than climbing to the summit of a mountain.
Yeah, true. That is true, and the mountain will always be there. That's well said. Yeah. So there's another interesting project that I know that you are on. You take clients to the 7 highest volcanoes on 7 continents. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I know many people don't really know about this or understand how it works. Please, if you can share that.
Well, obviously, for a lot of people, the 7 summits, it's very expensive and it's a lot of time consuming. The likes of Everest, you need almost 2 months, whereas the likes of the highest volcano, all you need really is 2 weeks maximum. And it's a lot more achievable for people, in a way, to complete the 7 volcanoes than the 7 summits. So it's just giving, in a way, people that option. Obviously, the 7 summits is a bigger thing that people want to do, but there's a lot more expense involved and a lot more time involved and a lot more physical energy required than doing the highest volcano in each continent.
Yeah, and which are the 7 volcanoes, 7 highest volcanoes on 7 continents? Offhand.
The highest one is in South America, is Chile. Also, the Salado. The highest one in North America is Mexico, and now I can't even remember the name. It's just over 5,500 meters, which is a lot more easier than doing Denali, where you're there for 3 weeks, whereas the one in Mexico, you can really do it in 5 days. The one in Kilimanjaro, you've got Elbrus, which is 2 of the 7 summits. The highest one in Asia is in Iran. And again, it's not as high, but you can do it basically in the summertime as well. And you're only talking really a week to 10 days to complete that compared to 2 months in Everest. Papua New Guinea is the same. And Vincent, which you have for the 7 summits in Antarctica, the highest volcano there is a lot lower. But then Vincent's not a hard climb or a high climb, so there's no real difference in Vincent and the volcano in Antarctica.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's actually as expensive as Vincent, I discovered, because I tried to find out about it, which I thought was a bit crazy. Something else I found out, which I didn't know actually from you, is that you're a certified trainer and coach, a physical activity trainer. Is that correct?
Yes.
And are you that?
Pardon?
Are you training people in terms of exercise and physical training?
Again, I'm probably lazy at that too. I have the qualifications, but obviously if I'm taking people climbing, that people maybe are wanting to get a program or wanting to do exercise, to me, I'm old school. It's the same as like football training and things like that there. A lot of the old exercises like star jumps and ordinary running and things like that there, stepping, no way. A lot of those are all common sense and you don't need to go to a gym to do them. It's the same as rubber bands. I have rubber bands in my garage that I tie onto the garage door and you don't need to go to a gym. So that's the reason I done, actually it was 1997 I passed my fitness instructor's exam. I was still in the police force.
Yeah.
I decided I would do a fitness instructor's course, and that's where I met a good friend, and that's how we decided then we would go and do the 100-mile race in the Himalayas together.
Yeah. That's interesting. So how do you train? It sounds like maybe it's the stuff that you've just mentioned. How do you train for the climbs? Do you train differently for different mountains? And if you're going to Antarctica, you train differently, or is it the same?
The same. I do the same training all year round. Should it be for obviously if I'm doing an adventure race, I have to do more kayaking, more mountain biking, but it's just general keeping the body in shape. No way, there's no point. Yes, there's certain exercises for climbing. If you're doing Jumars, and I think I remember whenever you were going that I showed you the one with the weights where you roll the bar up, and it's just really having a brush shaft and putting a rope through it and a weight on it. It's for your forearms whenever you're Jumar. A lot of the exercises is just general fitness, and to me, you don't really need any special fitness for going to the mountain. It's just having the skill that you need for using the rope work.
Yeah, but I've seen your gym in your island home, the pictures. That's a proper gym. That's like, is that Virgin Active or what? That's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, it's a proper gym. Obviously, we built a new house in 2008. And while we were building it, people used to say you should build a gym and train people. But the way I looked at it is, I like to have a gym myself at home, whereas you can go out and train in your gym rather than have to go to a gym. Obviously, where I live in the countryside in Northern Ireland, to go to the nearest gym, you're talking maybe 20 minutes, 30-minute drive.
Wow.
So if you've 20 or 30-minute drive there, 20, 30-minute drive home, and you spend an hour and a half in the gym, that's 2.5, 3 hours at your way, which is a long time. Whereas here in Johannesburg, 5 minutes in your gym.
That's interesting. So just going back to your clients, how do you choose your clients? Are there people that would come to you and you say, no, I'm not going to be able to guide you, or do you just take anybody?
Most of my clients is word of mouth or friends that has climbed with me and then they've spoke to somebody else. I don't advertise. I don't have a website to advertise. And it seems to work for me. Certainly, yes, if somebody comes, I would look into what experience they have, what have they done before. I certainly wouldn't like to take somebody to Everest that has never been on a mountain before. I remember going with another company that I worked with, and I got to Kathmandu. The person come off the flight and he had no gear. No way. And I says to him, "Where's your bags?" And he says, "I need to buy everything and rent everything in Kathmandu." And to me, that was a disaster from day one. I think that the company that he paid to go with shouldn't allow him to go, but it wasn't my problem. He didn't pay for me to go with me. He went with another company, but I was working for the company, and like he didn't even know when he was going to put a Gore-Tex coat on or pants or anything. He said, "You're going to tell me when I need to wear these." And it turns out that he never got out of base camp. He couldn't make it to the first camp, but he had spent probably $80,000.
That's just not ethical. That's bad. Anyway, no, what does that adventure mean to you? I know it means different things to different people. What does it mean to you?
To me, adventure is really getting out there to different countries. Even the same country, if you're out in the Drakensberg, it's not going to the same places every time. The way I like to, same as climbing, it's nice to go to somewhere where there's not as many people there, different climbs, even going on different mountain bike rides, somewhere that is off the beaten track. No way adventure. Probably my best adventure and probably the most dangerous one was whenever I was doing the 7 summits to sea level, the Papua New Guinea one, Carson's Permit. Because whenever we come off the mountain, me and Pat, we just hired local people from local villages. I had arranged to first porters through a person, John Hunt from the US. He was a missionary in Papua New Guinea. He had been there like for 25, 30 years, and he had said, look, I can set up 2 or 3 people for the first leg of your journey, and then they can just pass you on to somebody else. And to me, that was probably the best journey I've ever had in the wilderness, like not knowing where you were going. Well, you knew you were going because you had a map, but 9 times out of 10 you were under the tree line and you couldn't see anything, and you were going through villages that didn't see Western people before.
Wow.
And yes, we got shot at. We were sort of held hostage for a few days, but we managed to get out.
Held hostage? That's crazy, no? I didn't know that.
The porters didn't want to keep moving, so they took our bags off us and says that we're not going today or we're not going tomorrow, you have to wait. But we sort of packed all our stuff into a rucksack, me and Pat, and then we left because we got friendly with another person that was on a trail, and they could understand a little bit of English. So we would point to them and say, look, this is where we want to go. And they said, we will be leaving this camp like at 4 o'clock in the morning if you want to follow us. So me and Pat got up, took off with them and just left our duffel bags. But we knew that the duffel bags was only rucks or sleeping bags and things like that. And we hadn't paid our porters. So we knew that that was no good to them, because selling a sleeping bag, they're not going to get any money for it because there's no Westerners coming through. So we took off with the older person, and within 5 or 6 hours the porters had caught up with us because they knew that they wanted to get paid.
Wow, that's quite a story. So on a lighter note, in terms of your training, I've put a few things. So cycling, running, swimming, rowing, and training at the gym. Which one is your favorite and why?
I can tell you which one is my worst one. Swimming. I'm a bad swimmer. I don't like it. No way. Swimming 300 meters will be harder for me to do that than run 10 miles. So I don't do any swimming. Yeah. But all the rest of them, I like rowing in the gym. It's good all-round training. The bike, it's easy to sit in the garage at home and listen to music, or you can do your emails on your phone and you can pass an hour no problem. The same as running. I love running because I love the sunshine. As you probably see, I've got a good colour up because I was out yesterday in the midday sun running. So they're all really beneficial. The good thing about cycling is it's easier than on your joints than running. But then running is more beneficial to you whenever you're out in the mountains, because you can carry a light rucksack whenever you're running. Recently I've started doing a lot of stepping, just with 2 steps or 3 steps at the front of the house, and we step there for an hour at a time, or an hour and 20 minutes at a time, and it's good for building up your leg muscles. And again, you can wear a rucksack while you're doing that and just put different weights into the rucksack.
Yeah, interesting. How has COVID-19 affected you? I know you had plans. You were also meant to be on Everest with some clients this past April. How has it affected you generally?
Yes, I was supposed to be on Everest April and May, and I was hoping to go to Pakistan June and July, and Kilimanjaro in August, but it's just part of life. It wasn't meant to be. The way I look at it is, if COVID hadn't happened, you could have been in a mountain and had an accident. So it's just the way things have. But what I've liked about it is, normally I would never be in the one country for 5, 6 months at a time. I've been back here in Joburg since March, and the only reason I'm still here is because there's no international flights. I can't get out. But I would never be able to train, constantly for 5 or 6 months. And I'm usually home here a month, away for a month, home for 3 weeks, away for 2 weeks. So it's been nice to spend time at home here with Lynne and with Buddha, my dog. Buddha's 10 years old now, and spending 6 months permanently with him has just been great for me. I've really, really loved it, and probably I'm fitter, and I've probably been the lightest I've been in the last 30 years, which is good.
That's interesting. So talking about Buddha, I know you absolutely love your dogs, and one of the stories that you mentioned to us at base camp is you taking your dog's ashes, one that had passed, onto the top of the mountain. Is this something that you always do, or it's just a once-off? Is there something specific that you do at the peak of the mountain?
Yes, I've taken ashes. I had 3 dogs, Babu, Rusky, and Buddha. Babu and Rusky was Buddha's parents. Babu passed away in 2015, and whenever me and Lynne went to Everest in 16, we took his ashes. And Rusky died then in 2016, so I took Rusky's ashes and Babu's ashes to the top of K2. I've taken their both ashes to the top of Kilimanjaro. I've taken both their ashes to the top of Elbrus. And back home in Northern Ireland, we have a high mountain. It's Slieve Donard, but it's only 840 odd meters, which is half the height of what Joburg is sitting at. Because whenever Babu was a pup, and whenever he was young, we used to train up in the Mourne Mountains, and Babu would have been on Slieve Donard every single weekend. So it's just really a thing that I've done to remember the dogs. And whenever I'm climbing, then I'm sort of thinking, well, Babu's up there looking over me. He's hopefully going to give me safe passage up and down the mountain.
That's interesting. Something else that I know you do is drink a little to celebrate after the summit at Everest Base Camp. But I also saw some videos of you drinking at the summit. Is that something that you do?
I do. I normally like to take a small, you can get the wee small bottles of Moët champagne. And I've had a glass of champagne at the top of Kilimanjaro, Elbrus. I've actually, the last time, or in 2016, I took a small bottle of champagne to the top of Everest, but I forgot about it and realized whenever I was halfway back down that I had the bottle in my bag and I forgot to open it up. But I like to take a small bottle, especially if you're with clients. They're only going to take like a quarter of a mouthful. It's just to celebrate the summit.
Yeah, that's interesting. The other thing that maybe I would like to ask is, what differentiates you and the way you guide from other guides?
I don't know if there's much difference. Normally, I don't like any more than 2 or 3 people maximum. I don't know how I'm different. It's just people likes the way that I work. I like to keep people as relaxed as possible. I keep an eye on them. I wouldn't get them to do something that I wouldn't do. I don't know. It's probably something that the people that I take could tell better than what I could tell. I feel that I'm just different. I think what I do maybe is better is that coming from an adventure racing background and an endurance background, I know what my condition is like, that if I'm not getting food after 12 hours or sleep after 18 hours, I know that my body can go 36 hours without sleep and very little food, and I don't have hallucinations and things like that. So that I find myself that is good for me, because I know that nobody knows if you're out on a mountain and you get stuck in a storm and you don't get to your tent, that you're getting very little food, and how your body no way controls that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I found different is the fact that you don't stay at base camp and watch your clients in a binoculars or something. You go with the clients. And you're always watching like a hawk. Every time I think I'm doing something and you didn't see, you're like, why are you slowing down? What's going on? So I liked that a lot. And believe you me, I went to Everest 4 times. The last 3 times I didn't experience that. So I think that's quite a differentiator that you must add onto your list. Uh, Noah, if you look at your journey and where you've come from, if you were to give advice to a younger Noah, 25, 28, what would you tell them, knowing what you know today?
Knowing what to know today is probably have have all your ducks in a row before you go to the mountain. Don't go to the mountain with new gear. Have your gear tried before you go. You see people going to the mountains and you know them whenever they come to base camp, they're brand new boots. And to me, that's stupid because even if you've got brand new boots, take them out into the Drakensberg and wear them in the hills there for days to make sure that they fit properly. Know that you've got your climbing gear set up before you go and know how to work it. No way, don't go there and it's the first time that you're using a Jumar, the first time you're using a figure of eight.
Yeah.
And yes, have a general basic fitness because, as I always say to people, that if you're the weakest person in a group, it's going to bring you down mentally thinking, I can't do this. Whereas if you're in the middle of the pack or one of the strongest, mentally it's going to keep you, this is easy. I'll be able to keep going here. There's people that are struggling more than me.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be super fit. No way. People say you need to be super fit. And a lot of people read books and things before they go. But I always say that you're reading somebody else's experience. It's the same thing as training somebody for a marathon. Somebody will say to you, what about whenever I hit the wall at 22 mile or 23 mile? That's somebody else's experience. If I go running a marathon, my first 5K is the hardest. And it's the same thing as if people go to a mountain and they come to a spot where they've read in the book it's supposed to be easy and they're finding it difficult. Mentally, they're going to think, I shouldn't have problems here. Obviously, I can't do this.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's always my thing is I would never read about a mountain before I go to it because everybody's experience doing a marathon or doing a mountain is totally different.
Yeah, true. I know yourself and Lynne, your wife did Manaslu without oxygen. That's quite a fit. So are you planning to do Everest without oxygen? And what is the experience like if you compare climbing with oxygen and climbing without oxygen? Did you prepare differently?
Probably fitness levels you would need to be a lot more, but on the mountain itself, you would have to do a lot more acclimatization and sleep at higher altitude before you go for summit. The likes of Everest, if I was going to do it without oxygen, I certainly, if I was going the north side, I would want to sleep at 7-7 at least 1 or 2 nights before I would go for summit and then come back down and rest. Whereas most people on the north side of Everest, they sleep at the North Col, 7,000 meters, and that's high enough if you're going to be using oxygen because you're taking oxygen from 7,000 meters. So it's just really spending more time on the mountain and acclimatizing more whenever you're doing it without oxygen.
Yeah. So the training you're saying is different. Did it affect you more? Were you exhausted a lot more without oxygen than with oxygen, or it's just a mental game?
You're definitely going a lot slower on the mountain. Whenever you're in oxygen, if you're coming up behind people that are a lot slower than you, it's easier to go past somebody. Whereas on summit day, you're going a lot slower than the people, obviously, that are in oxygen. And I don't know whether it's a mental thing or it's just in the back of your mind thinking to yourself, I'm without oxygen, they have oxygen, I have to have reserve in myself. Because you're wanting to get up, and the problem is then if you're not carrying oxygen, you're thinking if I do have problems here, I have to come back down.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's hard. Yes, it's a lot more difficult doing a peak without oxygen than with oxygen. Or if it wasn't like that, then you'd have a lot more people doing the mountains without oxygen.
True.
No, I think there's probably 200 or 210 people has done Everest without oxygen compared to 6,000 or 7,000 people that has done it with oxygen.
Yeah. Something else that you've done, you made history by going up Mount Bergkang, I think in 2017. That was a first ascent, I believe. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Yeah. And is this your thing? Are you doing a lot of first ascents or planning to do it?
What I think made the Bergkang one special was that the mountain was named after Bill Burke, who is the oldest American to climb Everest. He's climbed Everest twice. And I've known Bill since 2009. And the mountain was named after Bill in 2014. It was a non-climbed and a non-named peak, but the government named it after Bill because he does so much work for Nepal. And Bill went in 2015, 16, and the spring of 17 to climb it and didn't make summit. And then I was speaking to Bill in the summer of 17. He says to me, Noel, I would really like if you would come in the autumn time with me. So I says yes. I knew Bill had been there a few times before and went out, and I went to the mountain early and worked with the Sherpas. And I think the nice thing was I wouldn't ask a Sherpa to do something that I wouldn't do. That we were going from camp 1 to camp 2, and the Sherpas came to an area which was heavy crevassed, and they wouldn't go any further. And they said to me, look, we can't climb any higher than this. It's too dangerous. So I said, look, I'm happy enough. I'll go across the crevasses, put the rope in at the other side, and then we can continue on from there. And that's what happened. The Sherpas roped me up. I went across the crevasses, put the anchor in at the other side, and the Sherpas were happy because they had an anchor in at the other side, which was secure. And that happened twice on the mountain. I'm not sure, maybe that's what the problem was on Bill's previous climbs, that the Sherpas were there, but the person climbing with them wasn't, so they weren't happy to go across. But lucky enough, this time we got across, and unfortunately Bill was struggling on the summit push and didn't make it for summit, but Bill wanted, this was his last attempt to go to that mountain, and he said that, if I can't make it, I definitely want somebody out of our team to make summit, because in 3 weeks after we were on the mountain, there was a Polish team and an Italian team coming to attempt it. So if we hadn't made summit, there was a big chance that one of the other teams would have made summit after us.
Yeah, that is well done on that. That's history. I suppose it's not like it was the fastest. Somebody will be faster. I mean, I think congratulations are in order in that respect. And any more firsts on the horizon or that you're planning?
2018, I was on another one which is close to Pomorye. I'm trying to think of the name of it now. That's bad. But we got till about 300 meters off the summit. Kangri Shar is the name of it. But the conditions were too bad. One of the Sherpas got hit with a rock fall, and we just decided the conditions were too bad. We would pull and not go for summit, because there's no point in putting somebody's life at risk, or my own life at risk, for the sake of getting a first descent. And to date, it still hasn't been summited yet, so it's probably one that I will like to go back to, because I know the route now up 3/4 of it, more than 3/4, which is half the battle. Because whenever you're going on a first descent, like we were climbing up 200 or 300 meters and coming to an area where we couldn't go any further and having to come back down. So you were wasting all that time and all that rope, putting in 300-400 meters to come back down again, not knowing the proper route up.
Yeah. No, I know you are the first couple, Lynne and yourself, to summit Everest. Do you go with her as a guide, or do you take a guide and you both become climbers in that instance?
We use logistics company. I don't use a guide. Obviously, the both of us work together, and that's the way we've always been. It's the same as doing an adventure race. You know, where you're working as a couple. But Lynne is no different than anybody else. The only thing that I know what Lynne can do and what she can't do. So if she's complaining that it's difficult, but I know that she can do it, I can give off to her and saying, you can do it, no way, what are you complaining about? Whereas if it wasn't, if I didn't know the person as well, then you're sort of giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Is she a difficult client or an easy client?
No, she's fairly easy client. She's quite good that way, that she'll go with what I believe in, and she'll take always my advice, which is good.
I'm sure she's probably listening, so you're careful about what you say about that. But no, thank you so much for the time. But I would like to know what's next for you, and anything else that you'd like to share with people that are listening and the ones that will listen in the future.
Yeah, if anybody wants any advice, any little advice, you know, the more we can get people out into the mountains and really enjoying life, that's what it's about. In a way, life's short, and obviously the older you get, the harder it gets. But if I can give anybody any advice, get in touch with me. You know, I can give you as much advice as I can give. I've been on probably 15 or 16 8,000 meter peak expeditions. So if anybody wants any high altitude advice, no way, feel free to get in touch with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I would second that. I'll send people to you because I've seen your work firsthand. And what's next?
I have no plans. I'm supposed to go to do the highest volcano in South America in December in Chile, but the way things are in Chile with the COVID, you can't really plan. And me and Lynne was hoping to go down to Mexico and do the highest volcano over Christmas. Again, Mexico's having problems, so I have no real plans at the minute. Well, I do. I've entered a team into the Ego Challenge, which is classed as the hardest adventure race in the world. I've done 4 of them before, going back 99, 2000, 2001, and 2002. So I've just entered a team into Patagonia for 2021. So it'll be interesting to see if we get an entry for that. So that'll be my next big challenge, and is to finish it.
Yeah. And any plans to go back to Everest 2021?
Yes, I have 2 or 3 clients for Everest 2021, but again, having those clients they were for 20, but their situation might have changed. No way. Yes, they were going in 20, but the way their work problems is or things, they mightn't be able to take off 2 months again in 2021. But I'm not really looking at that at the minute. I'll probably start considering that again in January, where we're 3 months further on with the COVID situation. It'll be easier to see what's happening, what's working out in the world. That is the world opening up again, or is it going to be like this here for another year or 2 years till they have a proper vaccination, and then people can travel freely again?
Yeah. This is actually a question that's just come to mind. Hi, Charlene. Thank you. Charlene is one of the people that has been following and probably will get in touch. She loves to know about high altitudes. So Charlene, Noel is your guy. How do you find dealing with women and men on the mountain? I know you've had both as clients. Is there any difference at all?
There's no difference. No way. Everybody's equally as strong. To me, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I don't give anybody any better benefits or anything. No way. I'll tell them, I'll criticize them, I'll tell them they're doing good work. Should it be a man or a woman? To me, I like to be truthful with people on the mountain. I'm not going to say, yes, it's going to be easy, you can do this. If I feel that they're not able to do it, should it be a man, woman, or a child? No way. I've taken 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds up Kilimanjaro, and it's just, I like to be truthful with people. I don't like to give people false, senses that you can do it whenever you can't. Be a person whenever you do a smaller peak before they go. I met a person about 12 months ago. I think you introduced him to me from Durban, and he spoke to me that he wanted to do Everest in 2020. But whenever he told me his experience, I said to him, look, yes, I could take you, could take your money, but you're not going to make summit because you don't have the experience and the fitness. I said you'd be safer doing a smaller mountain with me before having the skills and then thinking of considering Everest, where it's a lot of money. And I'm not one of these things that just takes money, get people to the mountain and they don't get up. To me, it's more beneficial is training somebody up. And because a lot of people, it's a lot of money, it's a lifetime expense and a lifetime dream, and you want to give them the best chance that they have.
Yeah. Why do you guide? I mean, what's in it for you?
To me, it's the joy. Probably one of my best memories was in 2010. I was guiding James Wild from America, and James had been on the mountain twice before, 2005 and I think 2007, and he didn't make summit. In 2010, I was climbing with him, and about 30 meters from the summit, he just got down on his knees and started to cry because he knew this time he was going to make summit. And for me, it was a childhood dream for him that he wanted to do. And just to see that there, way that I helped to make this for him, it's just for me.
Yeah. Anyway, no, thank you so much. I don't know if you have any last words, but for me, I've asked, and I really am grateful that you managed to join us. It was long overdue, and I'm grateful as always for your guidance on Everest. You made a real difference, and I appreciate that, and I hope more and more people will be able to benefit from your service.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Sorry. Bye.